Okay, so now that we've gotten the hang a little bit of arrays, let's go deeper. So I can think of an array as a set of these boxes, these variables, with one name attached. Now, what type of variable could I store in an array? Well, it turns out I could store pretty much any type of variable in an array. I could store, oh, maybe I could make a double array. Uh, I'll change. Okay, equals new double, maybe a size 50. Okay, so that creates an array of 50 doubles. And certainly we could check to see the default values of those. Double dot length, or double r dot length, I plus plus. And then here we would say, well, in this we would say double r position I. Then I run this, and I would see that it initializes to 0.0. Okay, what about a string array? And we'll, new string, and then here's stray, strar. Everything that, nothing changes except, well, I change the name, just for clarity, and I change the data type, but still has a length, still set to size 50. Let's see what it has. Null. It stores the value null in a new string, or in these spaces where I could put strings. So I could say that str r I equals hello world. I could set it to I, and then everything would be hello world. I could set it to, say, only position 4 in my loop, and it'll keep overwriting position 4. And you'll see position 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, has hello world. I could print out something like this. I plus to see which position holds what value. So position 0 holds null, and position 4 holds hello world. And again, if I change that to just I again, I see that everything gets hello world. If I change that to hello world plus I, well, then everyone gets that little number tacked on to the end. So it's a really easy way to store a lot of data, especially if we increment data. And that means that, well, I mean, I could store object arrays in here, I could store any number of things. But to start out, well, maybe I could try moving through some sort of grid. So let's think about this. I could store objects in an array, like strings, or I could store, maybe I'll make an array inside of an array. So that's how I'd say I have a double array. And a double array, or a two-dimensional array is the preferred terminology. So I have a two-dimensional array. It has 2 dimensions. That's what this indicates. And I'm going to call it 2D. And it's equal to, 2D is invalid, of course. Let's say 2D. And it's equal to a new int array. And in this case, I have to specify a size for my one direction and a size for my other direction. So 4, 4. Okay, so what does a 2D array look like? Well, it's going to actually look something like this. So I have, instead of one row of boxes, I have 4 of them. Okay, so it's basically a grid that I've created of some length and some width. And so let's see how I would print this out. Well, um, ah, and then we can say for int c equals 0, c is less than 2d dot length, c plus plus. Okay, and here, well, maybe actually I should look inside each of these, because what we have here is we have an array inside of an array. So this is as if we have a set of boxes, and inside each set of boxes is, say, another set of boxes. So we have just a bunch of these sets of boxes inside one set of boxes. Now, the appropriate way to sort of note this is with curly braces again. So each element of the first array is actually an array of its own. Okay, and so you can see that actually this has 1, 2, 3, 4 different arrays inside of it, each of length 4. And that's what this indicates. I have an array that has 4 elements, and each of those elements has 4 elements. So I have a total of 16 elements total. Total. And so let's see how I can print this out. So system.out.println. I can actually print this out 2D RC. So I'll print out the rows and the columns. And that prints it in a line. So instead, I'll print it system.out.println here. And this should separate it reasonably. Okay. I'll add a space after each one just to give it a little bit of visual pop. Okay, so here I have a my array that I just created. I've printed out something 4 times. And then I've multiplied it I'm printing out something 4 times here. So I'm looking at position 0, seeing how long that thing is. It's length 4. And then I'm printing out that many times. But I do that entire process 4 times, or the length of this outer part. How many elements are in this one? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so let's start modifying some values and seeing what I can get. let's say int, or let's say 2D position 3, 5, or not 3, 5, 3, 3, that's 3, 2 for some distinction here, is equal to 5. What is this saying? It's saying that in position 3 here, 2, 1, 2, 3, because we're starting from 0. So this position 2 in array position 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, I am going to store the value 5. So I'll print this out, and we'll see that I have stored here in position 3, 2, I've stored the value of 5. Okay, so let's say I want to print out in, say, position 1, 1, 1. Maybe I'll have, let's say I'll put a 1 there. So 1, 1 gets a 1. So either way, I can go through and I can say, oh, well, maybe I could fill this array with different numbers. And maybe these different numbers could represent, oh, I don't know, a monster or something of that nature. By going through, using a two-dimensional array, modifying the values, well, maybe I could fill all of these with a different number. Maybe I could say 2D RC equals R times C. Okay, so here I'll fill each row with a different number, or each box with a different number. That has to do with its multiplication, and we get some interesting properties here. Maybe instead of R times C, I can do R plus C, and I can see a similar pattern where I'm adding up all these values. You can do all sorts of interesting things here just by doing some simple mathematics. Minus C, for example. We get some negatives in there in the upper right, but in the lower left, we get some other values, some positives, and we split with 0. So investigate this, play around with it. There will be a video on how to use this for sort of a grid traversal project, but mostly it's a tool that definitely has a lot of possibilities, and I encourage you to check it out.